Hello, and we are back. It was fractionally later than anticipated, but we just had to find our beverages and get back to our seated positions. So that was Drive, and what we would like to know is what you guys thought about it. We've already had one review through from one of my grandmothers.
Just one word. Horrible.
And that's what we need to know. Not for 89-year-olds.
Well, not for that particular 89-year-old. Not sure. Well, we're still waiting to hear what the review is from the other.
Yeah, she might have loved it.
Grandma, so, I'd like to see.
Like to see both sides.
See both sides, see if we get a bit of balance on that.
But we want to know what you guys thought of the film. Obviously, what I want to know, first of all, Katie, is what you thought about the film.
I think it's a fantastic film. I was just thinking, when I went up for my quick toilet break in between, for someone who just before we watched this film said, am I that much of a fan of gangster films? And I kind of said...
You literally said, I don't like gangster films.
Yeah, and then at the end of this film, I was like, this is pretty much a gangster film. It has a lot of elements of classic gangster films, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of people kind of getting caught in the crossfires and crosshairs of things. A lot of really, really hardcore hits on people. Killing
people who are friends.
Yeah. I like how they do that kind of friend killing where they're like, I'm going to give you a really nice death and you're not going to know it's coming. And just in your arm. Nice.
That's a very common trope in gangster films.
Yeah, it is. So, there was a lot of gangster in that. Yeah, so... But why do I like that more than I like other gangster films?
Well, that's a question for you.
I think it has a lot to do with there are other elements of the film. I think it is maybe a more modern take. Like we were saying, stylistically, it's fantastic. The driving in it is brilliant. The getaway scenes are genuinely exciting. It's not just this big brash film with loads of explosions and cars flying everywhere.
I think we were saying that the violence is a punctuation and it's very short and sharp.
Yeah.
And it's often at the very end of a scene as the scene builds up and you know what's coming and then it's like bang, and then it moves on to the next thing. So it kind of, like I said, it punctuates the film rather than litters the film. So we got a couple of early reviews in. Ben Green loved it. Dave Chapman loved it.
Double loved it. He loved it enough for all the nanas.
And then wrote loved it again.
Yeah.
C. Nolan wrote, I loved that. And MC said, well, that was traumatic.
Traumatic or dramatic?
Traumatic.
Yeah, it is. It's quite traumatic.
And Ben Green says, escalation to the point where nobody wins.
Yes. But, or do they win? Irene's alive and Irene's son is alive.
And that was really his objective from the beginning, the driver's objective from the beginning.
Yes.
To protect them from these dangerous criminals.
Including himself.
Fabricator says, quieter than I expected. I was anticipating a John Wick sound bombardment scenario.
Okay. And I don't know if you noticed, but it was quieter. And then the bit where Oscar Isaac's character got shot, it was so loud, the bullet sound. And I thought that was really effective because, again, it's quite an understated film. And it has that light and shade, and I think that's really good.
A lot of very lingering shots.
Yes, a lot of lingering shots. That one at the end where they kind of do the fake out of is he dead? Is he not dead? It's like you think, oh, this is going to be a fake out, and then you're waiting, and then you're like, oh my gosh,
but
he is actually dead. Yeah.
Dave Chapman says it could be my favourite film of all time.
Do you know, I'm not surprised, Dave, because I think it is so well done. And I think that if you like that kind of style, if you like that kind of score and the music, I think that is completely an acceptable thing to say. And I would say it's really up there for me. It could be my top 5.
Wow. Angela Kennedy says, can't watch the violence. Very powerful performance from Ryan Gosling. The women's parts a bit rubbish.
I was going to ask you, is Irene a manic pixie dream girl?
No, not in my opinion.
Really? And we should probably say what a manic pixie dream girl is.
It's a common film trope, which is that a woman character exists only to help the male character achieve their dreams. slash goals.
Yes. But was his ultimate goal his driving career, or was his ultimate goal just to keep her alive? Therefore, her being in the film, the purpose was to keep her alive.
I mean, you could argue it. I don't see it that way. I would definitely agree that the female characters were quite lacking.
Yeah.
But equally, it's almost like this film was a one-hander, you know? It was the driver's film.
Yeah,
Everyone else is a bit part.
Okay.
Male and female.
Okay,
That is not to say that the women had good parts, because they didn't.
Yeah, I think that for me is a weakness of the film, because what they do really well is obviously that dynamic between the driver and Irene, and they get across so much with such little dialogue. And I like the fact that they don't go into this like full-blown relationship. There's no sex scene, there's nothing like that, but you really feel that, and that is all great. But yeah, I think the thing with her character is she's very passive and everything happens to her.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's difficult because you think, right, does every woman have to be shown in a certain way or this certain way? But I think that there could have been more to it. And it is kind of like when Oscar Isaac's his character comes out of prison, and there's sort of them like him like kind of squaring up or peacocking, and it's like they're kind of fighting over her, kind of not, but you know what I mean? It's like, does she have agency over anything that's happening, or is she, obviously she's trying to keep her son safe and whatnot.
There were a few parts you could argue could be gender flipped without much consequence to the story. Bryan Cranston's character could have been gender flipped, but maybe he just gave such a knockout audition that they thought we got to cast him.
But again, like Christina Hendricks' role, like she's just kind of a bit of that stupid person, like, you know, she it's just that classic, the silly broad that ends up getting shot in the head. I mean,
I agree.
If you haven't watched it yet, there's some spoilers in this.
I think it's going to be a spoilery post-chat. They always are. Daisy Thompson says, I was pleasantly surprised. I feel similar to Katie about gangster films, so I wasn't super looking forward to it, but I enjoyed this. I feel there's more to it.
Yeah.
Fabricati, now this is as positive a review as we could have maybe hoped for. I expected to hate it. I came away feeling indifferent.
Okay, well, yeah. There you go.
C. Nolan, I like it more than other gangster films because it's so much more different from the rest.
Yeah.
It's shot very differently with the quadrant system.
Yeah.
And the music is very memorable.
Yeah.
Which is true. Malcolm Sage says, liked the film, very violent, too much for Cheryl.
Yeah, maybe we should have done a bit of a warning actually on the pre-thing, because it's very violent.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
But we should have said it maybe on the pre-live, but I did mention it on last week's, and I did say in the Discord as well.
Okay.
MC said he had a prehistory of violence and the pixie was his salvation.
Yeah, because it obviously, like, you very much get from this character, this is not his first rodeo. You know, that's not the first time he's killed people. That's not the first time he's probably, you know,
he knows how to handle himself.
He knows how to. He's not like, caught up in something that I don't know about. Yeah, he's very much.
And he is prone to explosions of rage-fueled violence.
Yes.
In what he perceives to be the defense of people that he wants to defend.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So that, I do see that.
And Emily said, that's what I don't like about gangster movies, Ben, that everyone is dead and the money is just left strewn on the tarmac of a car park. As in escalation to the point where nobody wins.
I think I would also agree with that, and that might be the bone I have to pick, because you're either, with the gangsters in this thing, you're either left feeling devastated and distraught, because you're like, oh my gosh, all these great characters are like dying and you know they're going to get killed, and you're like, oh gosh. Or you're at the point where you're like, I know everyone's going to die, so I'm just going to totally like shut off from this and not, you know, and it all feels pointless. I don't know.
I really like gangster films as a rule. I think that the really good ones are exceptional.
There's a lot of interesting dynamics, I do.
Yes, there's a lot of very interesting dynamics in the way that the kind of power and politics of organised crime works, I always find very interesting. and the way that they're trying to humanize people who do inhuman things,
Yeah.
like the way The Sopranos did, is
Yeah.
I think really an interesting kind of cinematic challenge.
And this kind of does this with the driver's character.
Yeah.
Because you still like him, but you've just watched him literally stamp in someone's skull and all sorts.
Yeah, well,
But
he's very much an anti-hero.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Ben says, I love Bleak film. It had a very Coen Brothers film crescendo. Katie is an avid despiser of the Coen Brothers. So add that to your list of things that Katie hates that are going to get her in trouble.
Exactly. Controversial opinions.
Yeah.
.com.
Angela Kennedy said would be great to see a prequel. His backstory would be a good watch.
Yeah, definitely. That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Daisy Toms, interesting on the female characters situation.
Yes, I would like to talk about that.
It definitely wasn't taking big leaps on the feminism front, but I think it passes. There's enough motivation and character building, I think, to pass the manic pixie trope.
Yes, yeah. Probably, but it could do better.
It could do better. It could do better. Let's say this thing for sure. It did not pass the Bechdel test.
No.
Which, if for those who don't know, there are 3 key points a film has to achieve in order to pass the Bechdel test, which is named after a film critic or essayist.
Yeah.
And it is 1, there has to be 2 female characters. 2, they have to talk to each other. And 3, that conversation cannot be about a man.
Yeah, or a man in the film. It cannot, yeah. So it doesn't... It
2 female characters never even spoke to each other.
Never spoke to each other.
So
and
it failed after point
1.
1.
Yeah.
And MC, again, with an interesting point, that the whole thing is pointless. Crime as the ultimate capitalism.
Oh, yeah. That's very interesting.
And Dave says, weirdly, I've never characterised it as a gangster film when it clearly is. Well, now you know your favourite film's a gangster film.
I hadn't really thought about it like that before tonight. So, yeah, and then it was when you think about it, it's blindingly obvious. But yeah, it's interesting.
Well, keep your thoughts coming in, but we've probably kept you hanging on just about long enough before we do our big reveal of which films we have coming up in part 2 of season 3. So next week we have a week off. Mm-hmm. And then after that, here is our schedule coming up. Are you ready to see which the first film is?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Katie has seen these.
I've seen it.
And here we go. The first film is St. Francis, which was a winner over White Tiger in the semi-finals. Mm-hmm. And it is a indie comedy drama about a woman
who has recently had an abortion, and she gets a job as a nanny to, I believe, a 6-year-old. And it's, as you say, comedy. But probably black comedy, I guess.
Could be, and has excellent reviews, and is meant to tackle social taboos very well. Yeah. Which is a good thing to look out for.
Yeah.
So that is on the 5th of March, so not next Friday, the Friday after. And then the week after that, we have Rocks, which I'm very, very pleased won. That will be the Friday after, on the 12th of March. And it is a low-budget British indie film about a group of, I think, London schoolgirls trying to navigate their way through the modern world. Should be very fascinating. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Woman director.
And people have just said it's stylistically something different, fresh. So that will be good.
Should be excellent. Okay, and the week after that, we have Boy Erased, which was actually recommended by Asia, I think, when we were watching 3 Billboards, because it stars Lucas Hedges as a son of Russell Crowe and Nicole Kidman, who is gay and is sent to gay conversion therapy, I think. So again, a dramatic social drama, kind of indie sensibilities.
Yeah.
I think we can kind of see
coming through for this second half. This is what people were going for. This is what people were feeling like.
Yeah.
So
And then we will be finishing on the 26th of March.
With one of John's favourite films.
One of my most favourite films I've watched in maybe the last 2 or 3 years. Into the Spider-Verse. It is amazing. It is visually incredible. It's a completely new take on animation. It takes the story of Spider-Man in a new direction, the way the comic books have, with a new Spider-Man called Miles Morales. If you don't know anything about the comics, don't worry about it. But super stylish, really funny, really well presented and executed. It's just an amazing film. So those are our 4 films we have coming up for you guys in the next part of our season. You've got all of those to look forward to. As I said, next week is our mid-season break.
Yes.
And then after that, we will be straight back in with St. Francis. I've got a couple of other comments. Mm-hmm. A couple of Bechdel test comments.
Oh, yes, good.
Ben saying she spoke with a lawyer, though off-screen, and that's clutching. Birch said, I was literally Googling whether it passed the Bechdel test as you said it. It says it passed dubiously because Irene has a conversation with the babysitter. I mean, it's like 3 seconds and you don't hear it.
Like they hug. I don't accept. And also, why is the babysitter a woman? You know?
Yeah. As you said, loved it. Loved the Irene character as well. Yes, maybe she's not the strongest female character, but it is still interesting to observe. Plus, Carey Mulligan is incredible. I think she gave a really good understated performance alongside Ryan Gosling, who gave a very kind of inflected performance.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, I kicked the microphone.
Oh, never mind. And a couple of comments about the films we have coming up. Ben saying they should all pass the bechamel test. I don't think he's quite got his autocorrect.
I like to call it that, though. I think that's good.
Few people looking excited about the new films. Look forward to seeing the first 3 for the first time. I'm very excited to watch Spider-Man again. Such a great film. Daisy Tomps.
I haven't watched that, so I'm excited too.
And C. Nolan says, I saw The Social Network was in round 1. I would have loved to have heard more of Katie going off after Sorkin.
Yeah, that actually won, but I just took it out.
Just vetoed it.
I just said no. That's not true.
And Dave had a couple more comments about Drive and being a gangster film.
Yep.
I feel like there's so much more to his character, how his actions are more about salvation than in it for the money, and how he's sort of an unwilling participant. Not to mention the general styling is so good, so it's not very gangster.
Yeah.
Daisy Thompson asked if I wasn't a Carey Mulligan fan. Well, that wasn't it. It was just I couldn't remember her name one week, and I was very upset that I couldn't remember her name. And Ben says bechamel was intentional.
Oh, okay.
So
Hard to keep up.
It's hard to keep up. I feel like now you guys have you've eaten your vegetables, and it's probably now time for a little bit of Quizzy Rascal. I hope you've brought your controversy hats because it's going to get fruity up in here.
Oh, yeah.
Ben wants to know when we're watching all of the John Wick films.
That is a really good question, Ben. We could do some kind of like a marathon thing after this season. Like,
yeah, well, we could do one more Sunday at one point. We could get a vote up for what you want.
Do a John Wick marathon. I know there's a lot of people that would love that, a lot of people that would hate that. But, you know.
Yes. Yeah, so let's go through the leaderboard for Quizzy Rascal. Okay. This has not been officially updated to reflect Catherine Ashling's 30 points she won on the Discord.
Yeah, but I have written those. All the points updates are on my sheet, my current sheet, but they are not on this beautiful display. So,
leading the way, currently, we have Dave Chapman, closely followed by his compatriot in Daveness, David A. C. Nolan, Azir, and Catherine would actually be up into second. Above C. Nolan, Ben rounding off the front page. Then into page 2, Pat and Daisy and Emily. Then Dan and Rebecca A, also featuring on page 2. And on page 3, So Cook and Katie, MC, Malcolm, Nick, and James Stillwell. I think only came to 1 and got 5 points out of pity.
And he's just going to sit on the
leaderboard
the
forever.
Yeah.
So, Chris C. Nolan says heart rate rising.
Yeah, exactly. Get your heart rate monitors on, guys. Check your sweaty palms. Just make sure there's no excess moisture on there when you get the typing.
Should we remind ourselves of the rules? So,
Sure.
what we're looking for is the answer to this question. No emojis required. And the first 3, is it? To answer correctly? You have to remind me.
The first 3, we said.
Okay. So, the first question. For how many Oscars has Ryan Gosling been nominated? He was nominated, I think, for Drive. However, he did not win.
That's 1. You've already given that away.
Well, it was kind of a bit of a giveaway because we just watched Drive and he was the main character and then there's a picture of him in the thing. So, yes, he has been nominated for at least 1. It wasn't a trick question. It was like, actually, it's 0. No, that was not it. So we're looking for the number of Oscars for which he has been nominated. We've got our first answer.
Have we?
Yes.
I hope you know the answer because I don't know it.
I do know the answer.
Good.
We've got a lot of guesses. And we have 3 correct answers.
Ooh, and
So,
they are.
the correct answer is 2. For this and for Lars... No, sorry.
La La Land,
no,
sorry.
not
No?
La... Maybe he was nominated for La La Land. Maybe he wasn't nominated for this. Oh, God.
Well.
I know it was 2. I know the answer was 2. And he won 1. And it was for Half Nelson, which is one of his earlier films. And correct, we have David A., who was first. I don't know if that gets extra points.
No.
C. Nolan.
C. Nolan.
C. Nolan in with the points.
In with the points.
And Artemis Amazon.
What? She's on the
She's on the leaderboard. We've had to save a little bit. Katie's got a new score sheet to speed up the scoring process, and she's got some extra columns for new scorers.
For newbies. So there you are. You're added. You're on there.
On the list.
Very
4.5
good.
Angela Kennedy is not correct. C. Nolan, Half Nelson, and La La Land. So I was wrong. But also right. So, second question. Drive was nominated for 1 Oscar. See, I should have looked at the question that I even asked in the next slide. Drive was nominated for 1 Oscar, but in which category? This is a toughie.
Category of very realistic violence, perhaps. Soundtrack. I think it should have been best soundtrack, but obviously they wouldn't do that.
C. Nolan has now further ascribed an incorrectness on mine. He has not won an Oscar. He got nominated for Half Nelson. It did not win.
Oh dear.
So that was a real palaver on my part there.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of responses here. So there's a few that are kind of right and a few that are kind of wrong. But I'm going to give it to... God, it's difficult. And Artemis Amazon has written something which isn't even a word. So that makes it difficult. Okay, 2 people have got it actually completely right. And
So
one
give it-
person was in like a bullet and got it kind of right.
Then go.
It was
with-
for best sound editing.
right. Yeah.
MC put sound, and he was straight in.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to
So
give
we
it
get
to
that.
him.
Yep.
Cheryl Sage
Oh!
was next.
Another one to
Another one
add to
to add to the list. The scoreboard isn't even adding that much time or saving that much time.
No.
And then Ben Green also with best sound editing. We had
Okay.
best soundtrack for Daisy Thompson, David A, which is not quite right, and Catherine Ashling.
Yeah, I would have.
Best Foley artistry, which was very nearly.
What's Foley artistry?
Foley is the sound effects they add in post-production.
Oh,
So you know, like when they're
yeah.
crunching on the gravel
Yeah,
and all of
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and coconuts for horse hooves. And Artemis put Vinnie May Torfy, which was not correct.
Indecipherable.
But she did clarify later cinematography.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So, question 3. What is the name of the character voiced by Christina Hendricks in Toy Story 4? And that is a picture of her character. Christina Hendricks, who had a very small part in Drive, and got her head blown off with a shotgun, which you saw for maybe 5 frames, and it was very brutal.
Yeah.
This is a character in Toy Story 4 who lives in the antiques shop.
Yeah.
And is kind of the main antagonist, but also quite sympathetic maybe towards the end. Toy Story 4, really excellent. And also there's a really good video which I'll post in extra links, which covers how Toy Story uses fake cameras in animation to tell the story subconsciously to a viewer who is well versed in lens language. It's really, really clever.
That is cool.
So we've got a couple of answers. Dave Chapman says Katie Hobbs, incorrect. Emily Birch said Mary, incorrect. Dave Chapman says Dolly. He's already guessed, so you only first answer counts. And we have so far 3 correct answers.
Ooh.
Justin. I really like this one because it's caused a lot of guesses which are not right, rather than last week we had a lot of correct answers straight off the bat.
Yeah.
So, Daisy Tomps with Gabby. The correct answer is Gabby,
Yes.
Gabby, but I'm going to allow Gabby.
Yeah.
Daisy Tomps, Gabby.
Yeah.
Ben said creepy Gabby.
Which is kind of accurate.
And then C. Nolan says Gabby, Gabby.
Uh-huh.
And then Cheryl and Malcolm also said Gabby, Gabby, but they were 4 and 5. Both of them said it straight one after the other.
That's very good. I'm going to give them 5 points each because...
Sympathy points.
Well, you know, when people try hard and they're there and they're just almost there, I don't want them to feel like, oh, you know?
Yeah. And last question in Straight Shooting Round. What is the name of the Carey Mulligan movie recently released on Netflix? Here's a screenshot from it. And it was also mentioned in the live chat.
It was.
As was seen by one of our TS movie audience members. I think it looks like one of the most boring films ever made.
You know, we were actually going to put it on the shortlist. Well, it was on the shortlist.
It was on the shortlist, and we watched the trailer and we took it off.
Because we thought that we couldn't do a film that neither of us cared
Wanted to
about
watch.
because it would seem insincere when we were like, yeah, this is going to be a good one.
We've had a slew of correct answers right in there.
What's the top 3?
Top 3, Asia.
Yeah.
Bang, straight in
Straight
there.
in.
Wow. Like, there's every single person who's watching this just guessed correctly.
Well,
Fabricati, straight in there. I mean, they've just put Dig, but I'm going to allow it.
is Fabricati...
Slow cooking Katie.
Okay, yeah.
And Dave Chapman.
Dave.
Also correct, David A, Emily, Pat Naylor.
Wow.
Artemis Amson put The Fig, which would have been a very different film. Catherine, Gary Hobbs, C. Nolan, Ben, Cheryl, Malcolm, everybody got it right. Sadly, not quick enough. Malcolm put The Gig. Again, would also have been a very different film.
Good film. Yeah.
Dave said, my mum liked it, and Birchie said a good Sunday movie. Neither of those are ringing endorsements, and I stand by our decision to remove it from the shortlist. And that is all I have to say about it.
Grandmas would have much preferred that, though, to what we watched tonight. So,
yeah.
That's what we can recommend for them.
So, round 2, the lightning round. This is just straight up, who's the quickest? And will there be an emoji attached?
There will be.
There will be an emoji attached. Now, bear in mind, the lightning round questions are very, very easy. So what we want is finger on the pulse, finger on the trigger, finger on the fast internet at your local household.
Just get that towel out, wipe the sweat off
And
now.
Artemis says she is trying,
Yes.
and lots of exclamation marks.
Yeah. Just accuracy is very difficult. Accuracy and speed, you know?
David A says, I want a steward's inquiry because I was top on my YouTube.
Uh-oh.
Not getting into this again, David! Right. The question is, who played Harry Potter in the film series Harry Potter?
And the emoji is the bolt of lightning.
Very obvious emoji as well. Now, this is a picture of that actor who played Harry Potter in the film series Harry Potter. Commendably, made a whole bucket of money from Harry Potter and then said, I don't need to do big budget Hollywood films anymore. I'm just going to do projects that I'm interested in. And he's done a lot of really good films.
Yeah.
And I really respect him for it. And he seems like a really well-rounded, grounded, interesting
Nice
guy.
guy.
And he can do Alphabet Acrobatics by Black Alicious
Oh, yeah.
as karaoke. And I quite like that. Amy Cleaver says, I'm stressed but ready. And Cheryl Sage says, me too. And here come the answers. Boom, 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 boom. Now,
Who?
I have a question for you, Katie.
Yes. Yes.
Dave Chapman has got the correct answer. 2 problems. It's spelt wrong, and the emoji is with a thundercloud and a lightning bolt.
No. It has to be. If it is Harry Potter, we know the lightning bolt we're talking about. That's I'm strict on that one.
Struck from the record.
Yeah. So stricken.
So, therefore, we have
Surely Amy.
Daisy Tomps.
Yeah.
Asya put David Radcliffe
Oh.
and was like right up there. Now, Emily Birch, same emoji,
Yeah.
correct spelling. Does it count?
Do you know what? I bet it's because those two don't have an iPhone. And
Yeah.
maybe that's the only one they've got.
Yeah. Emoji limitations. That's the reason they've said.
Oh. But I just.
But he did spell Radcliffe wrong, so you're still screwed. So Birchie, give Birchie the points.
Okay, well, she was first.
No, Daisy Tomps.
But I just won for the lightning round.
Oh no.
It's just one.
Okay, well Daisy Tomps.
Daisy jumps. Yeah.
But also correct were David A, Emily Birch, Amy Cleaver, Fabricati, and Ben Green. And Cheryl Sage.
Oh, well done, everybody.
And as you said, oh my god, David, I suck, I totally panicked.
Brilliant. Oh.
And this is our last question before our mid-season break. It is our
You make
interpretive,
it so dramatic before the 1 week off.
our interpretive dance round. Now this, sometimes Katie has to take a whole day to decide this.
Yeah, because it's very important.
Now this just requires the answer and or string of emojis that reflect the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And we are giving points to the most creative use of the emojis.
Yes.
And the question is, name this film starring Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. Now remember, there's no time limit on this, and you can use whatever emojis you want.
Yeah.
We just want the most creative and interesting emoji usage. Winner will be the best one. Obviously there has to be some kind of time limit. We're not going to just sit here until midnight.
And this is going to be for 25 points.
Oh, that's big points.
Yeah.
Big money. David A says he was also top on his I'm Raging.
Oh, man.
And Cheryl says Malcolm hasn't got an iPhone, so he struggles with emojis.
Oh. But you're trying to help with the emoji stuff. But then you've got to really focus on the first few questions.
All I can say about being top on other people's screens and not on ours is we've done our level best to make this better rather than being on Instagram. And all I can say is it's been like a 4 to 5 out of 10 improvement. It's been some improvement, but not as much as we would hope.
Yeah, not as much as we thought.
But I can't really think of anything other fairer way to do it. If anyone else has a fairer way to do a fastest finger first quiz on the internet, then please let us know.
Yeah.
Because we're all ears, and we've got 2 weeks now to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just that the quizzy gods are either with you or they're not with you.
It's true. So far, we've got the grand total of 0 answers in.
Well, people are thinking
I don't know
about
whether
this,
people are
John,
agonising
'cause
over their
this
emoji
is-
choice or they don't know the answer.
They know the answer. It's just people know that this is a very important round. This is for flair, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's not to be trifled with. Anything for you?
C. Nolan has one.
Yep, got that.
It's
Spot less minus.
Eternal, the infinity sign.
That's really clever.
Sunshine,
Yep,
minus spot, and then the brain.
yep, I really like that.
Birchie, sun, hole,
Hole,
down, brain. Then Azure,
left, I
cheeky
get
face, broken heart, computer. You see, that's kind of gone into the narrative as well.
Yeah, that's more than
Which is interesting.
Oh, see, hence interpretive dance, different interpretations.
And Fabricati's gone for orange, then the orange heart, and then a dog. Now,
Right,
I haven't
yes.
seen Eternal Sunshine recently enough.
The hair, orange. 'cause
Oh,
she
she's called
has all the
Clementine.
different-
She's
oh,
called
she's called
Clementine.
Clementine, and she has the hair, yeah. Yep. So, again, where's the orange? Oh, yeah, there.
Cheryl's gone for 2 sunshines and then head exploding, which is kind of
Yeah,
also quite
you
into
know.
the narrative.
Yep.
Kath and Ashling's gone for sunshine, recycling, and then the glasses face and the brain, kind of like recycling your brain.
Yeah.
Wow, this
yeah.
is some really good
Gosh,
responses, guys.
Do you know what? I'd have to deliberate for a week over this. Have to screenshot it all.
Spot the dog
Yeah.
is in the film. Malcolm Sage has gone for 4 kind of sad crying face emojis.
Just for the they hit him hard, that film. Hit him hard. He's still feeling it.
So I think we've got some good responses there, and
Yes,
I'm going to
very good.
keep responses open until we go offline. So
Yeah.
there you've got plenty of time now to keep your thoughts coming in. But that is going to.
I think there's going to be maybe a few winners.
few
on
winners.
That one. Yeah, I think I'm going to do some big points there. Big points round.
Big points. Well, that concludes Quizzy Rascal for this half of the season. Now,
Yes.
who did the best then?
Well,
It was quite even, actually.
it was very even. The best was, because I'm trying to think, you see Dave did well because he picked up 5
He picked up points before.
on the t-shirt, so he actually did quite well, and he picked up, we haven't announced this yet, but Dave was actually the winner of the midweek emoji question on Instagram.
Bloody hell, he just keeps picking up these points in the
Because
off
you know what?
season.
He's consistent,
And
it's really what's doing it.
And for my birthday, Dave and his partner Emily bought me these Back to the Future socks. So I think that's.
so that's also,
And his. Can you see that one?
I'm about to knock
You
everything
got,
off.
so you've got Marty on one side and Doc Brown on the other side, and I think that's really good.
Yeah. Anything to do with points? Or just,
No.
just wanted to show them
Just
off?
wanted to show my socks
Yeah.
before we went off.
But that was a very even round. We've got Ben C. Nolan, Daisy Toms, all picked up 20 points there. Azia 10, so that was good. But Catherine Ashling picked up the big 30.
The big 30 for the Discord lightning round.
Yeah. So
It was always going to be for big points.
Last week, yeah.
Ben says his hasn't registered on Amy's screen. I don't think it's registered on our screen either. What I would say is, if you haven't heard us, name your emoji, read your emoji out, then send it to us
yeah.
in screenshot or direct message, and we will judge all of them, and Katie will announce the winner on the Instagram or
On the Discord.
on the Discord.
Yeah.
And
And because we'll put the leaderboard, we can put the leaderboard up there on Discord.
Fabricate says we should have a wind down meditation after Quizzy
what?
Rascal.
I think it's necessary, that everyone has a wind down and then they think about we should bring Litza on to do it. Our friend who is a yoga teacher and kind of mindfulness meditation expert. Get her on.
Ricky Martin.
And John always makes fun of, it's a long story, but something to do with Reiki, and then you always say, when is Ricky Martin coming? Because it's a Borat joke.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Litza loves that.
She always loves it.
Yeah.
So that just about concludes it. But don't forget to send in your emojis if you think that they haven't shown up properly. And we will judge them. We will view all submissions.
Mm-hmm.
And we are off this next week, as I've told you many, many times. And we will be back with St. Francis on the 5th of March. So I guess that just about winds things up for us tonight. But thank you so much for joining us for the last 4 weeks. And we will see you in a fortnight.
Exciting.
Okay, bye.